How could you show up to the gala like that? You humiliated me!" Marissa screamed, her voice echoing through our marble foyer like a banshee's wail. Her designer dress was hiked up from storming around, her perfectly applied makeup now streaked with tears of rage. I stood there in my rented tuxedo, the one she'd picked out, the one she'd micromanaged down to the cufflinks, and felt something cold settle in my chest. Something final. "It won't happen again," I said, my voice calm as winter ice. Then I walked away. The next morning, I sent divorce papers. But let me back up. Let me tell you how we got here. To this moment where my marriage of 6 years imploded in a hotel ballroom full of Dallas's social elite, and how what followed shocked everyone, including me. My name is Evan Holt. I'm 39 years old, and I design commercial lighting systems for theaters, hotels, and corporate events. It's honest work that pays well, though it doesn't come with the social cachet my wife craved. I build the infrastructure that makes other people look good under the lights. The irony wasn't lost on me, especially that night. Marissa Holt, soon-to-be ex-wife, was 34 and worked as a fundraiser for the Dallas Children's Foundation. Beautiful, ambitious, and obsessed with appearances in a way that had slowly strangled our marriage like ivy choking a tree. The distance hadn't started overnight. It began with small corrections, my posture at dinner parties, my choice of shoes for charity events, the way I held my wine glass. Then came the bigger adjustments, which friends we could see, which restaurants were appropriate, which version of myself I was allowed to present to the world. By the time of the Spring Gala for the Children's Foundation, I had become a carefully managed accessory in my own life. "Remember," Marissa had said that evening, adjusting my bow tie for the 3rd time, "don't monopolize conversations with the donors. And please, for God's sake, don't mention your work unless someone specifically asks. Nobody wants to hear about electrical systems at a charity gala." I'd nodded, watching her in the mirror. She looked stunning in a midnight blue gown that probably cost more than my monthly truck payment. Her blonde hair was swept into an elegant updo, her makeup flawless. She was the picture of sophisticated charity work, the kind of woman who belonged in magazine spreads about Dallas society, and I was the husband she was increasingly ashamed to claim. The Fairmont Hotel ballroom was a masterpiece of understated elegance. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over round tables draped in cream linens, each centerpiece a small work of art featuring white orchids and silver accents. The foundation had spared no expense, which made sense given the guest list: oil executives, real estate moguls, tech entrepreneurs, and their equally polished spouses. I knew the lighting setup intimately. My company had installed the system 2 years ago, and I'd personally programmed the sequences for events like this. Watching the gentle transitions from cocktail hour ambiance to dinner presentation lighting gave me a quiet satisfaction that nobody in this room would understand or appreciate. "Evan!" a familiar voice called out. I turned to see Marcus Webb, a fellow lighting designer who occasionally subcontracted work from me. He was standing near the bar with his wife, both of them looking relaxed and happy. A stark contrast to the tension radiating from Marissa beside me. "Marcus, good to see you," I said, moving toward them. Marissa's hand clamped down on my arm like a vice. "We need to find our table," she said through a smile so forced it looked painful. "Just saying hello?" "Now, Evan." I excused myself from Marcus, who gave me a look that said he understood exactly what was happening. The pity in his eyes stung more than Marissa's grip on my arm. Our table was near the front, close to the stage where the evening's speakers would present. Marissa had specifically requested this placement, citing her role in organizing the event. What she hadn't mentioned was that Lucas Brandt would be seated directly across from us. Lucas was a board member, a smooth-talking consultant in his early 40s who specialized in nonprofit strategy. He had the kind of effortless charm that made donors open their checkbooks and wives forget they were married. His silver hair was perfectly styled, his smile practiced, his handshake firm enough to convey confidence without being aggressive. He was also, I was beginning to realize, the reason my wife had been working so many late nights recently. "Evan," Lucas said, extending his hand as we approached the table. "Great to finally meet you properly. Marissa talks about you all the time." The lie came so easily, I almost admired its smoothness. Marissa hadn't mentioned me to anyone in months, except perhaps as an obstacle to be managed. "Lucas, right," I replied, shaking his hand. "The consultant. Strategy advisor," he corrected with a laugh, though I suppose it amounts to the same thing. As we took our seats, I watched Marissa transform. The tense, critical woman who had spent the car ride here listing my potential social infractions disappeared, replaced by someone vivacious and engaging. She laughed at Lucas's jokes, leaned in when he spoke, touched his arm when making points of her own. I might as well have been invisible. The evening progressed with excruciating predictability. During cocktails, Marissa circulated with Lucas, introducing him to donors while I stood awkwardly nearby, occasionally acknowledged with a distracted, "And this is my husband, Evan." During dinner, she angled her chair toward Lucas, engaging him in animated conversations about foundation strategy, while I ate my salmon in silence. It was during the silent auction that I decided to get another drink. The bar was crowded, but the bartender, a young guy with tired eyes and the practiced efficiency of someone who'd worked too many society events, recognized me. "Another bourbon?" he asked. "Please. Make it a double." He poured the drink and leaned closer. "Hey, thanks for sharing your wife's table with Lucas tonight. Guy's been coming to these events for months, always ends up monopolizing the prettiest woman in the room. Usually it's someone else's wife." The words hit me like a physical blow. Not because they revealed something I didn't already know, but because they confirmed it with such casual certainty. Even the staff had noticed. "Excuse me?" I managed. The bartender's face went red. "Oh shit, man, you seemed cool with it. They've been like that at every event this season. I figured you knew." Every event this season. Months of late nights, mysterious phone calls, and growing distance suddenly crystallized into a pattern so obvious I felt stupid for not seeing it sooner. I took my drink and walked back toward the table, my mind eerily calm. Marissa and Lucas were deep in conversation, their heads close together, her hand resting on his arm. Other guests at nearby tables were watching them with knowing smiles, the kind reserved for affairs that everyone acknowledges, but no one discusses. I was the cuckold husband at a charity gala, and apparently everyone knew it but me. The presentation began, featuring a video about the Foundation's work with underprivileged children. The lights dimmed, my lighting system performing exactly as programmed, and I watched Marissa's face in the glow from the screen. She looked radiant, engaged, alive in a way she hadn't looked at home in months. When the lights came back up, Lucas was whispering something in her ear that made her laugh, a real laugh, full of genuine delight. That's when I knew it was over. I didn't make a scene. I didn't confront them or demand explanations. I simply stood up, walked to the coat check, retrieved my jacket, and left. The valet brought my truck around, a practical Ford F-150 that Marissa had always hated for its lack of sophistication. Tonight, I was grateful for its honesty. It was exactly what it appeared to be, no pretense or deception. I drove home through the quiet Dallas streets, my mind strangely clear. Our house in Preston Hollow was dark except for the security lights I'd installed myself. The mortgage was in both our names, but I'd made every payment. The furniture was chosen by Marissa, but paid for with my income. The life we'd built together was as much of an illusion as her performance at the gala. I poured myself another bourbon and sat in my home office, staring at the computer screen. Tomorrow, I would begin the process of dismantling 6 years of marriage. Tonight, I would plan. By 3 a.m., I had a strategy. Marissa came home at 2:47 a.m. I heard her heels clicking on the marble foyer, heard her pause at the bottom of the stairs, probably wondering if I was awake. I sat in the darkness of my office, watching her silhouette move past the doorway toward the kitchen. She didn't come looking for me, didn't call out to ask where I'd gone or why I'd left. The message was clear. My absence hadn't been noticed, or, if it had, hadn't been unwelcome. I waited until I heard her bedroom door close. We'd been sleeping separately for 3 months, ostensibly because of my snoring, before I moved. Then I went to the kitchen and did something I'd never done before. I went through her purse. The small silver clutch she'd carried tonight sat on the granite countertop, like evidence waiting to be discovered. Inside, along with her lipstick and credit cards, was a second phone. A phone I'd never seen before. My hands were steady as I powered it on. No lock screen, no security. Either she was careless or she wanted to be caught. The text thread with Lucas told the story in brutal detail. Lucas: your husband looked miserable tonight. Think he knows? Marissa: Evan doesn't know anything. He's completely oblivious. Lucas: good. The Cayman trip is booked for next month. Can you get away? Marissa: already told him it's a foundation conference. He won't question it. There were photos, not explicit, but intimate enough to leave no doubt about the nature of their relationship. Marissa in Lucas's office, sitting on his desk. Lucas's hand on her thigh at what looked like a restaurant. The two of them in what was clearly a hotel room, fully clothed, but obviously together. But it was the group chat that really drove the knife home. Marissa, Lucas, and 2 other women, Danny Peterson and Kendra Mills, Marissa's closest friends and fellow foundation volunteers. Danny: how long are you going to keep this up with Evan? Marissa: until the divorce is final and I get half of everything. Lucas says I need to be strategic about it. Kendra: poor Evan. He seems like such a nice guy. Marissa: nice doesn't pay for the lifestyle I want. Lucas has connections, ambition. Evan's just safe. Lucas: don't worry about her husband. He's not going anywhere. Too much of a doormat to cause trouble. I read every message twice, taking screenshots with my own phone. Then I carefully placed everything back exactly as I'd found it, and went to my office. At 7 a.m., I was on the phone with Jim Morrison, the best divorce attorney in Dallas, and a man whose lighting system I'd designed for his law firm 2 years earlier. Evan, what's going on? It's pretty early for a social call. I need to file for divorce, Jim. Today. There was a pause. Are you sure? These things can sometimes be worked out. I'm sure. I have documentation of adultery and potential financial impropriety. I want a clean separation, and I want it fast. Financial impropriety? I pulled up the files I'd been reviewing since 4 a.m. My wife has been routing foundation sponsorship payments through her boyfriend's consulting firm. The donors think they're giving money directly to the charity, but it's being filtered through Lucas Brandt's company first. I don't know if it's technically fraud, but it's definitely not what the donors agreed to. Jesus, Evan, you've been busy. I'm just getting started. By noon, the divorce papers were filed. By 1 p.m., I'd sent a carefully worded email to the Dallas Children's Foundation Board, expressing concern about potential conflicts of interest in their vendor relationships and suggesting an independent audit of recent transactions. I didn't mention Marissa by name. I didn't have to. The financial records spoke for themselves. Marissa's first text came at 2:15 p.m. We need to talk. I didn't respond. At 3:30, Evan, please. Whatever you think you know. Still nothing from me. At 4:45, my phone rang. I let it go to voicemail. Evan, this is ridiculous. I don't know what's gotten into you, but we're adults. We can work this out. Call me back. The second call came 20 minutes later. Okay, I know you're angry about last night, but you're overreacting. So I talked to Lucas at the gala. So what? He's a board member. It's my job to cultivate relationships with donors and board members. You're being paranoid and childish. The third call was different. Evan, pick up the phone. I just got called into a meeting with the board chair. They're asking questions about Lucas's consulting contract. I don't know what you've done, but you need to fix it. Now. I was in my workshop when she finally came home, around 7 p.m. The workshop was my sanctuary, a converted garage bay where I built custom lighting fixtures and tested new designs. It was the one space in the house that was entirely mine, filled with tools and components and half-finished projects that Marissa had always dismissed as Evan's hobby. She found me there, still in her work clothes but looking disheveled in a way that was completely unlike her usual polished appearance. "What did you do?" she demanded. I looked up from the LED array I was soldering. "I filed for divorce." "I know that, you bastard. What did you tell the foundation?" "The truth. That there might be some irregularities in vendor payments that warrant investigation." Her face went white. "You have no idea what you're talking about. Lucas's consulting work is completely legitimate." "Is it?" I set down my soldering iron and turned to face her fully. Because from what I can see, the foundation has paid his company nearly $200,000 over the past 8 months for strategic consulting services. That's interesting, considering he's supposed to be a volunteer board member. He provides valuable expertise. I'm sure he does, especially the kind he's been providing you in hotel rooms. The silence stretched between us like a live wire. Marissa's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. "You went through my phone," she finally whispered. "I went through your second phone. The one you used to coordinate your affair and your little financial scheme with Lucas. It's not a scheme. Everything we've done is perfectly legal." "Maybe. But I doubt the donors who think they're giving money directly to help children would appreciate knowing it's being filtered through your boyfriend's company first, especially when that same boyfriend is taking you on trips to the Cayman Islands on their dime." Marissa sank into the folding chair I kept in the corner, her carefully constructed facade finally cracking. "Evan, please, you don't understand. The foundation needed someone with Lucas's expertise. The board approved the consulting contract." "The board approved a contract without knowing he was sleeping with the fundraiser who recommended him. That's called a conflict of interest, Marissa. And depending on how the money was moved around, it might be called something worse." She started crying then, but they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of panic, of someone watching their carefully laid plans collapse in real time. "What do you want?" she asked. "I want a divorce. I want you out of my house. And I want to never have to pretend again that I don't know what kind of person you really are. Evan, we can work this out. The thing with Lucas, it's not serious. It's just what? Just closeness? Just money? Just you and your friends laughing about what a pathetic doormat I am?" Her face flushed. "You read the group chat." "Every word. Very enlightening. Especially the part where Lucas assured everyone I was too much of a pushover to cause trouble." I smiled, and it felt like breaking glass. Turns out he was wrong about that. My phone buzzed with a text, then another, then a third. "That'll be Lucas," I said, glancing at the screen. "Looks like he's having a bad day too. Something about his consulting contracts being suspended pending review." Marissa shot to her feet. "You can't do this to us." "I'm not doing anything to you. I'm just refusing to protect you anymore. There's a difference." She stormed out, her heels clicking angrily on the concrete floor. I heard her car start, heard the screech of tires as she backed out of the driveway too fast. Then silence. I went back to my soldering, my hands steady, my mind clear. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again. The next few days unfolded like dominoes falling in slow motion. I watched from the sidelines as the life Marissa had built around her deception began to collapse, piece by carefully constructed piece. The Dallas Children's Foundation moved quickly once the audit began. Lucas's consulting contract was suspended within 48 hours. By Friday, the local business journal had picked up the story. Not the affair, but the financial irregularities. "Local charity under review for vendor relationships" was the headline, accompanied by a photo of the foundation's headquarters. Marissa was placed on administrative leave, pending the investigation's completion. Lucas stopped returning her calls. I know this because she told me during one of her increasingly frantic attempts to get me to fix what I'd set in motion. He won't even talk to me, she said, cornering me in the kitchen Saturday morning. She looked terrible, no makeup, hair unwashed, wearing the same clothes from the day before. His wife found out about us. She's filing for divorce too. Sounds like Friday was rough all around. Evan, please. You have to call the foundation, tell them this was all a misunderstanding. But it wasn't a misunderstanding. You did route donor money through your boyfriend's company. You did recommend him for a contract without disclosing your relationship. You did plan to use foundation funds for personal travel. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. I have the text messages, remember? She slumped against the counter. What about our marriage? 6 years, Evan? Doesn't that mean anything to you? I poured myself coffee and considered the question seriously. It meant everything to me. That's why this hurts so much. But you ended our marriage months ago, Marissa. I'm just making it official. I made a mistake. You made a series of calculated decisions. There's a difference. My phone rang. Marcus Webb, the lighting designer from the gala. Evan, hey, I heard about the divorce. Man, I'm sorry. Thanks, Marcus. How did you... Danny Peterson. My wife knows her from the country club. Word's getting around pretty fast. I glanced at Marissa, who was listening intently. What kind of word? That you caught Marissa and that board member guy in some kind of financial scheme. People are saying you went full forensic accountant on them. Something like that. Good for you, man. Sarah always said there was something off about how Marissa treated you. Nobody deserves that kind of disrespect. After I hung up, Marissa was staring at me with a mixture of horror and disbelief. Danny's talking about us? Apparently. She promised she wouldn't say anything. Marissa, your friend Danny is a gossip who's probably thrilled to have front row seats to a scandal. Did you really think she'd keep quiet? The reality of her situation was finally sinking in. The affair was becoming public knowledge. The financial investigation was expanding. Her job was in jeopardy. And the man she'd planned to leave me for was cutting ties as fast as possible. I need to call Danny, she said, reaching for her phone. I wouldn't. She's probably fielding calls from half of Dallas society right now. The last thing you want is to sound desperate. But she was already dialing. I listened to her side of the conversation with a mixture of fascination and pity. Danny, it's me. I heard you've been talking to people about, what do you mean, damage control? You're supposed to be my friend. A long pause. I don't care what it looks like. You promised you wouldn't. Another pause, longer this time. Fine, but don't expect me to forget this. She hung up and threw her phone across the kitchen. It hit the tile backsplash and clattered to the floor. Let me guess, I said. Danny's distancing herself from the scandal. She said I should have been more discreet, that everyone could see what was happening between me and Lucas. She said I embarrassed myself. She's probably not wrong. Marissa whirled on me. This is all your fault. If you hadn't been so boring, so satisfied with your little middle-class life, none of this would have happened. You're right, I said calmly. If I'd been more exciting, you might have cheated more discreetly. The sarcasm hit her like a slap. You bastard, you're enjoying this. I'm not enjoying anything, but I'm also not going to apologize for refusing to be humiliated anymore. She stormed out again, but this time she didn't come back. I heard her upstairs, slamming drawers and closet doors. An hour later, she left with 2 suitcases and her remaining dignity. I didn't ask where she was going. Monday brought new developments. The Foundation's board met in emergency session and voted to terminate both Marissa's employment and Lucas's consulting contract. The local news picked up the story, though they kept the details vague. Charity employees dismissed following financial review. But Dallas social circles are small, and gossip travels fast. By Tuesday, I was getting calls from people I hadn't heard from in months, all expressing sympathy and offering support. Old friends who had gradually disappeared from our social calendar during Marissa's campaign to upgrade our lifestyle were suddenly reaching out again. "Evan, it's Tom Bradley. Listen, I heard about what happened. If you need anything, a beer, someone to talk to, just call." Tom was a contractor I'd worked with for years, a good guy who Marissa had always found too blue-collar for our dinner parties. "I appreciate that, Tom. For what it's worth, a lot of us could see she was pulling away from you. Sarah mentioned it to Jenny more than once. We just didn't know how to bring it up. It's okay. I figured it out eventually. The hard way, sounds like. But you handled it right. Standing up for yourself like that took guts." After I hung up, I realized something had shifted. The narrative was changing. Instead of being the clueless husband who got blindsided by his wife's affair, I was becoming the guy who'd fought back, who'd refused to be a victim. It felt good. Wednesday brought the confrontation I'd been expecting. Lucas showed up at my workshop around 6 p.m., just as I was finishing up a custom fixture for a restaurant downtown. He looked like hell. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his expensive suit wrinkled. The confident smile was gone, replaced by the desperate expression of a man watching his world collapse. "We need to talk," he said. I didn't look up from my work. "Do we? You've destroyed both our lives over what? Jealousy? Wounded pride?" "I haven't destroyed anything. I just stopped protecting your lies. Marissa and I, what we had, it wasn't supposed to hurt anyone." I set down my tools and turned to face him. But it did hurt someone. It hurt me. And apparently, that didn't matter to either of you. "Look, I know you're angry. I'm not angry anymore, Lucas. Anger was last week. Now I'm just done. The foundation thing, that was legitimate business. Everything we did was legal. Maybe. But it wasn't ethical. And it sure as hell wasn't what you told the donors they were paying for." He ran his hands through his hair. "My wife left me. Took the kids. I'm probably going to lose my house. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Because you seem pretty calm for someone who just blew up 2 marriages." I stepped closer, close enough that he had to look up at me. I'm 6'2", and I spend my days doing physical work. Lucas was soft, a man who'd gotten by on charm and connections rather than calluses and sweat. "I didn't blow up anything," I said quietly. "I just turned on the lights. What people saw when the room lit up, that's on you and Marissa." He backed toward the door. "This isn't over." "Yeah, it is. It's been over since the moment you decided my wife was part of your compensation package." After he left, I called Jim Morrison. "How's the divorce proceeding?" "Smoothly. Marissa's attorney is pushing for a settlement conference. Sounds like she wants to avoid a trial." "Good. The sooner this is finished, the better. Evan, I have to ask, are you okay with how this played out? Some people might say you went nuclear pretty fast." I thought about the question. "Jim, I spent months being treated like an embarrassment by my own wife. I watched her parade her affair in front of our friends while pretending I was too stupid to notice. She was stealing from a children's charity to fund her relationship with another man. So no, I don't think I went nuclear. I think I finally stood up for myself." "Fair enough. Just wanted to make sure you were at peace with it." "I am. For the first time in a long time, I really am." The settlement conference was held the following Thursday in Jim Morrison's conference room. Marissa arrived with her attorney, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Vance, who specialized in high-asset divorces. Marissa looked better than she had the last time I'd seen her, hair done, makeup applied, wearing a conservative business suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. But I could see the stress in the tight lines around her eyes, the way she gripped her purse like a lifeline. "Evan," she said as we took our seats across from each other at the polished conference table. "Marissa." Patricia Vance got straight to business. My client is willing to waive spousal support in exchange for 50% of all marital assets, including the house, retirement accounts, and business equipment. Jim looked at me, eyebrows raised. We'd discussed this possibility. Counteroffer, I said. She gets 25% of liquid assets, no claim on the house or business equipment, and she signs a non-disclosure agreement regarding the circumstances of our divorce. That's completely unreasonable, Patricia began. Actually, it's generous, Jim interrupted. Given the adultery and the potential criminal exposure from the foundation situation. Marissa spoke for the first time. There was no criminal activity. The investigation cleared us of any wrongdoing. The investigation found irregularities that violated donor agreements but did not rise to the level of criminal fraud, I corrected. That's not exactly a ringing endorsement. Evan, please, Marissa said. We were married for 6 years. You deserve exactly what Texas law says you deserve, minus whatever penalty the court might impose for adultery, which, given the evidence I have, could be significant. Patricia leaned forward. What evidence? Jim slid a folder across the table. Text messages, photos, financial records, and sworn statements from several witnesses who observed Mrs. Holt's relationship with Mr. Brandt at various foundation events. Marissa's face went pale as Patricia flipped through the documents. The NDA is non-negotiable, I added. I don't want the details of our marriage ending up in the society pages. And if we don't agree to your terms? Patricia asked. Then we go to trial. Everything becomes public record. The affair, the foundation scandal, the text messages where Marissa calls me a doormat, all of it. The room fell silent. Marissa stared at her hands, her carefully applied composure finally cracking. I need to speak with my client privately, Patricia said. They stepped into the hallway. Through the glass conference room door, I could see Marissa gesturing animatedly, while Patricia spoke in calm, measured tones. The conversation lasted 15 minutes. When they returned, Marissa looked defeated. We accept your terms, Patricia said. The paperwork took another hour. When it was finished, Marissa and I were officially divorced. Our 6-year marriage reduced to a stack of legal documents and a few wire transfers. As we stood to leave, Marissa caught my arm. Evan, I want you to know that I never meant for things to go this far. I looked at her hand on my arm, then at her face. What did you think would happen, Marissa? That I'd just quietly accept being humiliated forever? I don't know what I thought. That maybe we could figure something out. We did figure something out, just not the way you planned. She let go of my arm. For what it's worth, I am sorry. About how I treated you. About the things I said. You didn't deserve that. No, I didn't. But thank you for saying so. She walked away, her heels clicking on the marble floor of the law office lobby. I watched her go, feeling something that wasn't quite satisfaction but wasn't regret either. Relief, maybe, or just the absence of pain. The next few weeks passed quietly. I threw myself into work, taking on projects I'd been too distracted to pursue during the final months of my marriage. The restaurant fixture I'd been working on when Lucas confronted me won a design award from the Texas Association of Lighting Professionals. A hotel chain offered me a contract to design custom installations for their luxury properties. My personal life simplified in ways I hadn't expected. Without Marissa's social obligations and image management, I had time for things I'd forgotten I enjoyed. I started playing guitar again, something I'd given up when Marissa decided it wasn't sophisticated enough for our dinner parties. I reconnected with old friends, people like Tom Bradley who'd been gradually excluded from our social circle. I even started dating, though nothing serious. Just coffee with a woman named Sarah Chen, who owned an art gallery downtown, dinner with Jennifer Walsh, a teacher I'd met at a lighting trade show. Normal people living normal lives, without the constant pressure to perform or impress. But the real satisfaction came from watching the consequences play out for Marissa and Lucas. Lucas's consulting business collapsed within a month. Word had spread through Dallas's nonprofit community about the foundation scandal, and no organization wanted to risk the association. His wife's divorce attorney had been thorough. She got the house, primary custody of their kids, and a substantial portion of his assets. Last I heard, he was working for a corporate consulting firm in Houston, a significant step down from his previous status as a sought-after nonprofit strategist. Marissa's fall was more gradual, but equally complete. The nonprofit world is small and gossip-driven. Her involvement in the foundation scandal, combined with the affair, made her toxic to other organizations. She eventually found work with a small charity in Austin, a position that paid half what she'd made in Dallas and came with none of the social prestige she'd craved. Danny Peterson and Kendra Mills, her former best friends, had completely cut ties. I learned this from Tom Bradley's wife, who moved in the same country club circles. "They're telling everyone they had no idea what was going on," Jenny Bradley told me over dinner at their house, acting like they're shocked that Marissa would do such a thing. "Even though they were part of the group chat planning her affair," I said. "Exactly, but that's how it works with that crowd. When someone falls, everyone else runs for cover." Sounds lonely. It is. That's why most of us never wanted to be part of it in the first place. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I got an unexpected call. "Evan, it's Marcus Webb. Listen, I have a proposition for you." Marcus had landed a major contract with the Dallas Symphony Orchestra, a complete lighting redesign of their concert hall. It was the kind of project that could define a career. "I could use a partner on this," he said. "Someone with your technical expertise and design sense. Interested?" "Very. What's the timeline?" 18 months, start to finish. It'll mean long hours, but the pay is excellent and the exposure will be incredible." "I'm in." As I hung up, I realized that this opportunity probably wouldn't have come my way if I were still married to Marissa. She would have seen it as too time-consuming, too focused on my hobby rather than advancing our social status. She would have pushed me to turn it down in favor of more lucrative but less creatively fulfilling commercial work. Now I was free to pursue the kind of projects that actually mattered to me. That evening I was in my workshop, sketching preliminary designs for the Symphony Hall project, when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I saw the news about your symphony contract. Congratulations. You deserve success. M." I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. Some chapters of life are meant to stay closed. The Dallas Symphony Orchestra project took 14 months to complete, 2 months ahead of schedule. The opening night gala was everything I dreamed it would be, a showcase of lighting design that transformed the concert hall into something magical. The way the fixtures I'd designed played with the architecture, how the color temperatures shifted to complement different musical pieces, the standing ovation from an audience that included some of the most influential people in Dallas. Marcus and I were featured in Architectural Digest. The Texas Association of Lighting Professionals gave us their highest honor. Most importantly, the musicians loved performing in the space we'd created. I was standing in the lobby after the opening performance, accepting congratulations and business cards, when I saw her. Marissa was near the back of the crowd, wearing a simple black dress that I didn't recognize. She looked older, thinner, and there was something different about her posture, less confident, more uncertain. She was alone. Our eyes met across the room. She smiled tentatively and started walking toward me. "Evan," she said when she reached me. "The lighting is beautiful, truly spectacular." "Thank you. What brings you to Dallas?" "I'm visiting my mother. She mentioned the Symphony Gala in the paper, said you were the designer. I had to see it." We stood there awkwardly for a moment, the noise of the reception flowing around us. "How are you?" she asked. "Good. Really good. You?" "I'm managing. The job in Austin is fine. Smaller scale than what I'm used to, but the work is meaningful. That's what matters." She looked around the lobby. taking in the elegant crowd, the celebration of artistic achievement. This is what you always wanted, isn't it? Recognition for your work. Part of it. The work itself matters more than the recognition. I never understood that about you. I thought ambition had to look a certain way. The right house, the right friends, the right social circle. I didn't realize that passion for your craft was its own kind of ambition. Different people want different things. She nodded, then looked directly at me. I owe you an apology. A real one, not the half-hearted thing I gave you at the divorce settlement. What I did to you, the way I treated you, it was inexcusable. You were a good husband, and I threw that away for something that was never real. Marissa, please let me finish. I've had a lot of time to think about what happened, about who I became during those last years of our marriage. I turned into someone I don't recognize, someone who valued all the wrong things. I hurt you, and I'm sorry. The apology was more than I'd expected, and more genuine than I'd thought possible. Thank you for saying that. It means something. Are you happy? She asked. I thought about the question seriously. Yes, I am. My work is fulfilling, my friendships are real, and I'm not pretending to be someone I'm not anymore. It turns out that's enough. I'm glad. You deserve happiness. Marcus appeared at my elbow, grinning and slightly drunk on champagne and success. Evan, the Times critic wants to interview us tomorrow. This is huge. He noticed Marissa and stopped. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. It's fine, Marissa said. I was just leaving. Congratulations on your success, both of you. She started to walk away, then turned back. Evan, for what it's worth, I think you handled everything exactly right. It took courage to stand up for yourself the way you did. I just wish it hadn't taken losing you for me to learn that lesson. Then she was gone, disappearing into the crowd of opening night celebrants. Marcus looked at me with raised eyebrows. Was that my ex-wife? Damn, how do you feel about that? I considered the question. Grateful, actually. If she hadn't shown me who she really was, I might still be living that lie. I gestured around the lobby at the celebration of work I was genuinely proud of, wouldn't have been possible. I never thought about divorce as a gift before. It wasn't a gift, but sometimes the worst things that happen to us clear the way for the best things. The reception continued for another hour. I shook hands, exchanged business cards, and accepted invitations to bid on projects that would have been impossible to imagine 2 years ago. When it finally wound down, Marcus and I stood in the empty lobby, looking up at the lighting installation that had brought us here. So what's next? He asked. I've got 3 major projects lined up, including a theater in New York. You? Same. Plus, I think we should make this partnership official. Webb and Holt Lighting Design has a nice ring to it. I like it. As we walked to the parking garage, I thought about the journey that had brought me to this moment. The humiliation of that charity gala 2 years ago, the painful discovery of Marissa's betrayal, the decision to fight back instead of accepting defeat. All of it had led to this. I'd lost a marriage, but I'd found myself. My truck was parked on the top level of the garage. As I drove home through the Dallas streets, I passed the Fairmont Hotel where this whole story had begun. The ballroom where I'd been humiliated was dark now, but I could see the lighting fixtures in the lobby. A system I'd designed 5 years ago, when I was still trying to be the man Marissa wanted me to be. Now I was just trying to be the man I actually was. It turned out that was enough. My phone buzzed with a text as I pulled into my driveway. Sarah Chen, the gallery owner I'd been seeing casually for the past few months. Saw the review in tomorrow's paper online. Amazing. Dinner Sunday to celebrate? I smiled and typed back, absolutely. I'll cook. Inside my house now, not ours, I poured myself a bourbon and sat in my workshop, looking at the sketches for the New York theater project. The space was challenging. with unusual acoustics and architectural constraints that would require innovative solutions. It was exactly the kind of problem I loved solving. My phone rang. Tom Bradley. Evan, just got back from the symphony. Holy shit, man, that was incredible. Jenny's still talking about how the lights made the music feel different. Thanks, Tom. That was the goal. Listen, I know this is short notice, but we're having people over Saturday night. Nothing fancy, just grilling burgers and hanging out. You should come. Bring Sarah if you want. I'll be there. After I hung up, I realized how much my life had changed. 2 years ago, Saturday night would have been spent at some charity function or society dinner, pretending to enjoy conversations about people and things I didn't care about. Now it would be burgers with real friends who knew exactly who I was and liked me anyway. The workshop was quiet, except for the hum of the ventilation system and the distant sound of traffic. I pulled out a fresh sheet of paper and started sketching, losing myself in the familiar rhythm of design and creation. Somewhere across town, Marissa was probably in a hotel room, reflecting on what her life had become. I felt sorry for her, but not responsible for her choices. She'd made her decisions, and I'd made mine. I'd chosen to stop being a victim. I'd chosen to fight back. I'd chosen to build something better from the wreckage of what we'd had. As I worked late into the night, designing lighting that would make strangers feel something beautiful, I realized that revenge wasn't really about destroying your enemies. It was about refusing to let them destroy you. And in the end, the best revenge was simply living well. The Symphony project had been featured in Architectural Digest, Lighting Design magazine, and the New York Times. Webb and Holt Lighting Design was booked solid for the next 2 years. I was dating a smart, successful woman who appreciated my work and never tried to change who I was. Meanwhile, Marissa was working for a small charity in Austin. Lucas was grinding out corporate consulting projects.